If your Charger's front end is feeling a bit loose, then this upper and lower control arm kit with new ball joints and sway bar end links might just be the cure for you. Featuring new OEM style arms, bushings, ball joints, and end links, this kit is an easy refresh to your car's front suspension for a fraction of the price of what your dealer would charge. Quick note on fitment before we dive in too deep here, this kit is designed to fit 2011 to 2019 rear wheel drive Chargers that are not equipped with the high performance suspension package. Whether we want to admit it or not, this generation of Charger is starting to get up there in years, and with age and mileage comes suspension wear. It's a fact of life. Bushings wear out, and the front end of your car starts feeling not so good. And on a heavier car like a Charger, a little bit of play in the front end can make a huge difference in how it drives and handles. What we have here is effectively the easy button solution to those problems. In this kit, you get new upper and lower control arms for each side of your car's front suspension, with brand new OEM style ball joints already pressed into the arms, plus all the other things that you need to get this set up. While it's certainly less expensive to just replace the ball joints in the arms and the bushings separately, that job is a pain to do, and it's going to take you far more time. These arms already come with the ball joints pressed in and ready to go. You've only got one set of ball joints to put in, and everything that you need to get this installed is ready to go right out of the box. So all you need to do is take out your original stuff and bolt everything into place. You also get new sway bar end links to replace your original ones too, so this will really help tighten up the front end of your car so it handles and steers just like it did the day it rolled off the assembly line. Much like your OEM control arms, these are put through the ringer when they're made. It's featuring stamped steel construction and all new rubber bushings plus the OE style ball joints. This is going to be a pretty full refresh. All this stuff is made in an ISO 9002 certified facility as well, meaning that they've been tested for impact, fatigue, and wear to ensure that they meet strict quality control standards, and they're going to perform just like your original equipment. One other thing that's worth noting, specifically on the sway bar end links and these separate ball joints here, I don't have them installed on these guys so I can have them standing up, but you'll find Zerk fittings, which means you can lubricate these to help extend their life. So these might actually end up lasting you a bit longer than your originals did. And all of that is great to see because for the price, you can't really beat it. Coming in at around $325, that is a really good price for everything that you're getting here. Now, $325 isn't nothing, but this is basically a full front suspension refresh, short of your shocks and springs. And the whole kit is going to cost you less than probably just one set of control arms would if you got them from your Dodge dealer. It is a heck of a good deal for a difference this can make. And while yes, it might be more expensive to go this route than just doing the bushings and ball joints, it's going to make the installation a whole lot more simple. Speaking of installation, we're going to give it a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and the job should take you around 4 hours to complete, maybe a little bit more if you've never messed with your car's suspension previously. It is, however, a fully bolt-on process, so you don't need to modify anything on the car itself to get all this stuff fitted. And we're going to walk you through the process step by step right now, so for that, let's head on out to the shop.
For this install, you will need an air hammer with a flat anvil, various impacts, a pry bar, a breaker bar, a ratchet, extension, an adapter if necessary, 12mm Allen socket, 8, 15, 18, 19, 21, and 22mm sockets, various ball joint removal tools and installation tool, a grease gun, 7, 10, and 11mm wrenches, 18 and 21mm wrenches, a 21mm ratchet wrench, a pickle fork, snap ring pliers, a flathead screwdriver, and also not shown here is a jack and jack stands and a pole jack. What's up guys, today we're going to be doing some upper and lower control arms and sway bar links on our Charger, so let's get started. Alrighty guys, so we've got the wheels off, we've got the car up in the air, and we're going to start with our upper control arms. So the first thing we're going to do is loosen the ball joint mounting nut. So we got an 18mm socket on our impact. Now we're going to bring it down, but we're not going to fully remove it just yet because we need to unseat this ball joint from our knuckle. So to do that, we're going to grab ourselves a hammer and give a few taps to our knuckle. And it should pop just out like that. Now before we fully remove that nut, we're going to grab ourselves a bungee cord and hook that around our strut and our spring. It's going to keep our knuckle from going too far forward. Just a little safety piece, and we're going to remove this nut. So once again, we'll get our 18mm socket. And you may need to press down on this, hold the shaft. And once that comes out, we can separate our knuckle, and then that bungee cord is just going to hold that like so. All right guys, so now we're up in our engine bay because we need to remove the 2 nuts holding the bolts in for the remainder of the mounting points for our upper control arm. These are inside here, and they're 18mm nuts. So we'll get an 18mm ratchet wrench on these. It is kind of a tight fit, but you can't get in here. We'll crack this first one loose. Now these are flag bolts, so they are held on. You don't need a wrench on the other side. Once they get to a certain point, you can reach back here, kind of hold that flag from moving around. Get your ratchet wrench out. Take this nut off. Be very careful not to drop this. And the rear one is pretty much the same. It's kind of at a tough angle. You're gonna go right back down in here. Now if you need to, you can push this connector down and kind of move it out of the way. And we'll get this nut off as well. Again, you want to be very careful not to drop this. Now that we have our nuts out, we're going to remove our mounting bolts. So we'll support our control arm, fish these out. And they will go behind the strut, so you do not need to remove that, which is very convenient. Just make sure that you turn the flag down as you're pushing the bolt behind the strut. Once you have your bolts out, remove your control arm. All right, so now we've got our 21mm ratchet wrench. We'll get that onto our nut. Then we've got a 10mm wrench to hold the stud. And we'll get it off this way. Pull that nut all the way off. We can pop our end link out of our sway bar, and then we'll do the same thing for the nut on the stud on the strut. And once you have this nut off, you want to support your sway bar end link and remove that. Now that we have our end link off, we're also going to need to remove this shroud because we need to unbolt our sway bar itself to access the lower control arm bolt on this side. So it's held on by two 8mm bolts. So we've got our 8mm socket. You've got one there, and you've got one back up above the sway bar itself. Kind of hard to get to. We'll switch out to a ratchet for that. So we have that out, we can remove this cover. Now we can remove the two 15mm bolts holding our sway bar in the side. So we've got a 15mm socket on our ratchet. Main bracket's gonna come out with it. You have that loosened up and swivel this out of the way. You don't need to unbolt both of these at one time, so you can keep your sway bar bolted onto one side. Now we have access to the bolt for this lower control arm. Next, we're going to remove the nut for our forward lower control arm. So we've got our 21mm socket. Pop that off. And we're also going to remove our outer tie rod. So once again, we got our 21mm socket. We're going to leave that a few threads on, and we'll grab our hammer, give this a few taps to unseat that. Now if your hammer doesn't work, you are going to need a ball joint tool or a pickle fork. These are available for rental at any automotive parts store if you need them. Ours uses a 19mm socket to get it going. Once we have that unseated, remove the nut, pop that out of the way. So you may have to break out the old-fashioned pickle fork for this. So we've got our pickle fork on our ball joint, and we're going to tap this with a hammer. Once you get it unseated with your pickle fork, pull that out. You can turn your hub, allow that to free up, and we just need to remove the bolt on the other end. Now we can remove our other mounting bolt for our lower control arm. So we've got an 18mm ratcheting wrench on the bolt head side and a 21mm wrench on the nut. Crack this loose. So we got that loose. You have to slide the bolt back a little bit to get the nut and the washer off. Once you got that off, you want to support your control arm. Push that back. Get your bolt out. We can remove our forward lower control arm. Now we can begin removing our rear lower control arm. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the bolt for our strut. So we've got our 18mm socket. Run that all the way out. It's going to give us some room. Again, that's why we did the upper control arm and the forward lower control arm first. That's going to support the weight of our knuckle and we don't have to remove it. Next, we're going to remove our mounting bolt on this side. So we've got a 12mm Allen socket and extension on our impact and a 21mm wrench for the nut. Alrighty guys, so sometimes these bolts are really, really tight. So we've switched out our impact for a breaker bar. We've got our 21mm wrench. We'll get this loose. Now that we've got that loose, switch back to our impact. You can remove the bolt. You want to grab your washer for your nut. Now this also has a pretty big washer on it. It's kind of tough to get out. Next, we need to remove the ball joint from the knuckle, and this is held on by a snap ring, so you're going to need some snap ring pliers. Get this snap ring out. And you want to hammer this out of the seat for the knuckle. Now these get pretty stuck in here over time, so you may need to get yourself an air hammer. A flat-ended anvil is the optimal choice, but we'll see if this one goes. All right, so we've got our flat-headed anvil for our air hammer. Now, another important side note is when using an air hammer or any kind of air tools like that, you definitely want to wear ear protection. Always want to take care of your ears. Now, once you have this released, pivot your knuckle and work our control arm out. Next, we can get our new upper control arm in place. So we'll slide that into the factory mounting location. It is at a slight angle, so it's going to be a little bit weird to get it in. Once you've got one side relatively lined up, grab one of your bolts, and get that ready to get through there. Get that first one through. You're definitely going to have to wiggle this around to get it to go all the way in. Then we'll do the same thing for our other one. You want to make sure your flags land on the brace so that they can get grabbed and go all the way in, just like so. Now while we're here, we'll get our ball joint seated onto our knuckle. We'll bring this back in place and line that up. Now this ball joint is going to be much stiffer. You're going to have to work it around a little bit. You even have to pull on it a hair. Now we'll get this lined up. Ball joint into our knuckle. Get that to seat enough to get some threads through, and we'll take our provided lock nut, get that in place. Now we'll remove our bungee cord, we'll grab our 17mm socket and tighten this down. So while we're here, we're also going to install our grease fitting. So that screws into the top of your ball joint. Get that lined up. And we'll grab our 7mm wrench, tighten this down. All right, so now we're back up in our engine bay. We're gonna reinstall the nuts on our factory bolts. Again, you wanna be very careful not to drop these when you're trying to get them started. And we'll get both of them loosely on, and then we'll come back and tighten them down. This back one is kind of a pain. Take your time with it. Be extra sure that it is on the threads before you let go of it. Okay. So now we'll come back in with our 18mm ratchet wrench. You may have to push this one back a little bit to get your ratchet wrench on. If you have it pushed back, you get that flag in position. Once we have this one tight, we'll do the same thing for our rear nut. Now we'll get our back one tightened up. Once you have that tightened back up, And put this connector back in its place. Find the clip holes. Alrighty guys, so now we can start working on the bottom end of our suspension. And the first thing we're going to do is remove our sway bar end link. So we have a 21mm nut holding it to the sway bar and another 21mm nut holding it to the strut itself. So we've got our 21mm socket on our impact. Try to get this off first. As you can see, sometimes these do spin. So when that happens, we're going to get a wrench to hold on to the stud and a ratcheting wrench to get onto here. Now we can install our new lower control arm in the front. Pushing it all the way back helps to get it up position with the knuckle. And we're going to take our factory bolt and washer, and it back through, get it lined up. Get that through. We can reinstall our washer and our nut. Once we have that on, we'll come back to the front and get our ball joint mounted. So now we'll swing our knuckle back into position, get our ball joint lined up. Get it to drop through, like so. Install our new lock nut. Once you get this through, you want to make sure the threads stay pretty clean. You don't want to get them galled up with any nonsense from your knuckle. So now we're going to take our 22mm socket, tighten this down. We'll see if it, and it did, that's good. Now we'll get our 21mm wrench back on our nut and our 18mm ratcheting wrench back on our bolt and tighten this down. Alrighty guys, so now we need to install our new ball joint. Now we have our new ball joint with our adapter for our tool. You will need a tool to press this in. If you don't have one, these are available again for rental at any auto parts store. And we've got some grease on the press in side. That's gonna help things out. So we'll set this into our knuckle. And we've got our adapter up top. So we'll get our C-clamp through. Need to run this up. You want to hold your bottom part that's going to hold to the knuckle on. Make sure it does not impede the opening at the bottom. Once you get that hand tight, it's going to sit. Grab our 22mm socket for our tool on our impact. I'm going to very carefully press this into place. Once that's pressed in, we'll loosen this up. Remove our tool. Pull our adapter off. Now one thing to note, this is an off-centered ball joint, so depending on how much or little camber you want, you can adjust that with this on how you set it. It's also going to have a little bit to do with caster as well, but that's all alignment related. Now that we have that in, we'll install our new snap ring. Again with our snap ring pliers, get this in position, work it up into place. And you'll hear a nice confirmation click once that snaps in. And after that, we can install our grease fitting into the bottom. Now we'll grab our 11mm socket, tighten down our grease fitting. Now we're going to set our control arm into place. So what we're going to need to do is move our knuckle around a bit. We're going to get this into our perch for our inner mount. Now this is going to be a little bit tight at first. Once you get that all the way back in there, you want to make sure your strut straddles your control arm. And we can line this up with our ball joint. Now sometimes these are pretty stiff, so you may have to move this ball joint around to get it to go in. So we'll do that now. Now we'll work this into place. That should fall in quite nicely once you get it on there. Next we'll loosely install our nut onto our ball joint. We're not going to tighten this just yet because we want to have some room to wiggle to get our factory bolt in the other side. Now you want to grab that factory Allen head bolt, get that into your control arm perch. Now you'll notice this washer kind of prevents itself from going in. So what you want to do is get that kind of in where the threads are, behind this mounting surface. It is going to make things a little bit tricky to see, but you should be able to line this up. The bolt head is going to be another task. And once you get that work past this, now this is going to be a little bit stiff to get through here. So you're going to need to manipulate this control arm. So if you need to, grab a pry bar. Now we've got that all the way through. Reinstall the washer and our nut. Again, we're just going to leave this hand tight for the moment. So now we'll get our strut back in place. Now we may need to grab a pole jack to push up on our knuckle to get this back on. We'll do that now. So now we've got our pole jack pushing our knuckle up into position. Line up our strut. Reinstall our bolt. Now you want to make sure this goes through evenly so that it threads back into that nut. Now we're going to tighten this bolt back down first to make sure that holds it in place. So we're going to use our 18mm socket. Tighten that back up. So now we're going to tighten down our nut for our ball joint, and we've got a 21mm ratchet wrench. It's kind of tough to get anything else in here, so I'm going to have to work with this. All right. Next, we'll tighten down our inner control arm bolt. So we've got our 21mm wrench on our nut, a 12mm Allen socket and extension. Next, we'll reinstall our sway bar to the bracket. So we have to get our support bracket in first. Now the flat one goes on the inside. Main bracket goes on the outside. Get that onto your bushing. And we'll reinstall our hardware. Now this part is a little bit tricky. These brackets don't like to sit back on these bushings. Now we'll grab our 15mm socket, tighten these back down. You want to kind of go back and forth with these. So now we'll get our sway bar end link in place. So the flat washers are going to be on the stud side. So we'll get that lined up with our strut as well as our sway bar. Get those through, and we can install our flange nuts on our studs. Now we'll tighten these down with our 21mm socket. Sometimes these do spin, so we're going to grab onto the nut on the back side. So now we've got our 18mm wrench on the nut for the back side. And we'll do the same thing for the mount on our strut. Now we can reinstall our tie rod. So get this back through our knuckle. We have to work that a little bit to get some threads to come through. You want to reinstall your nut. We're going to try to tighten this down with our 21mm socket. Now once you have everything in place, you want to tighten everything down and torque it to the manufacturer recommended specifications. And after that, you're going to need a grease gun. You want to grease all of your fittings, including your ball joint for your lower control arm, your sway bar end links, and your ball joint for your upper control arm. That's just going to go like so. Get that on, pump this full, and then repeat for all of your grease fittings. Now once you've got this side all done, you can repeat the same process for the other side. Now one more thing you don't want to forget is to put your little shields back on your sway bar mounting bracket. So we'll get this back in place, get our 8mm bolts back on. Get this one back up in here. It's a little bit weird to get to. You want to tighten that back down with your 8mm socket. Alrighty folks, that about wraps up our review and install of our front, upper, and lower control arms with sway bar links for your 11 to 19 rear wheel drive Charger without high performance suspension. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything Charger, keep it right here at AmericanMuscle.com.